Hey YouTube, it's Jeff at Darkmoon Metals. So, we're finally here. I can open this up from eBay, you can see what I got, and I will tell you about the project. But before I do open this, I want to talk just a second on these unboxing videos that I see all over YouTube. And most of them are pretty straightforward, but some people, it's almost like they try to one-up each other in the unboxing process. It'll go from a razor knife to a butterfly knife to a stiletto to a survival knife to a full-size Bowie. And guys, really, I mean, we just want to see what's in the package. And if you have to rely on theatrics to catch attention to your videos, maybe you should just try something else. I don't know, that's just my 2 cents. So let's get started. Let's crack this open and see what we've got. Remember what I said, YouTube. If you can't have fun doing what you're doing, you should probably be doing something else. Okay. These are a couple of taps and a couple of dies. Now this is, let's see here, where's the measurement? This is 5/16 20, and I special ordered these. I could not believe how much just the tap cost. I found them on a couple of different websites. They wanted $20 a piece for these damn things. I don't know why they're so expensive online, but McMaster Carr, MSC, a bunch of places I tried, just for one tap, just that, they wanted 20 bucks. So I said, the heck with them. I went on eBay. I actually found these. Yes, they came from China, but I got all 4 of these for 20 bucks. So, and I'm not planning on using them that much. So if it isn't the high quality, up to par stuff, really doesn't matter to me, because today's project and every project that will involve these is copper. So as some of you already know by just simply looking at the title in the video, I am going to be machining new points for the Harbor Freight spot welder. Now I've gone to welding supply places all over the place and I cannot find the tips that have this particular thread on it. They don't look like they're that difficult to make. They look like they're just regular copper. I mean, they might be an alloy, but check that out. That's how you could tell you've got quality parts there. They didn't even bother to take the burr off. But anyway, I need the tap to make a fixture to hold the tip once I've threaded it, and of course I need the die for the threads themselves. But now I'm going to be able to make these whenever I need them. I don't have to go hunting for them. And even if you can find them, I would imagine that they're probably about 20 bucks a pair. So for a couple of minutes on the lathe, I can save myself a couple of dollars. For the first part of this project, I've got a 5-inch piece of hex stock. I'm going to be just cleaning up the surface a little bit on the wire wheel. Then I am going to drill and thread this so it'll receive the copper tip once the threading is on, and I can put this in the chuck and I can machine the actual taper to the tip. The tool post is finally ready to go. I did have to tweak it just a little bit. Turns out that the T-nut that I made was about 5 thousandths higher than the machine surface on the slide, and what that was doing is when this nut was fully tightened, you still had just a little bit of wobble in this. And when you have a tool post, you want it to be rock solid. You want it to be as rigid as possible. So the solution, of course, was to take the thing apart, take the T-nut, throw it back in the milling machine, and take about 15 thousandths off, just so it was below that machined surface. But we are ready to christen this with its first cut. We'll see how it goes. I don't know how well you can see that, YouTube, but there is a little bit of a burr there. That means I need to raise my tool up a little bit, that it wasn't perfectly centered with the chuck. So I'm set up, gonna take another pass. That's nice and clean. Going ahead and center drilled this. The next step, I'm going to bring it out and I'm going to machine a small portion of this to round. Alright guys, I got this set up to spin between centers. And what I need to do is spin a round piece out of the hex stock, and it needs to be a smaller diameter than the tip. But I also want to make sure that the diameter fits within these two flats, because that's going to come in handy for when I have to mill these on. These are basically so you could put a wrench on it and just take them off the welder. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this operation. Alright YouTube, so I have to turn my tool post, and when I do that, I'm going to set it roughly where I want it, and then I'm going to come back here to the chuck, and I'm going to make sure that this side is parallel with the chuck. That'll make sure that the cutting bit is 90 degrees to the work. Would help if I use the right end of the wrench. In case you're wondering, the answer is yes. The tool post is coming very, very close to the chuck. But I do have a stop, so my carriage will only move so far, and I'm not doing it under power. At least not power feeds. Of course the lathe is spinning. I am doing all of the cutting by hand, and as soon as I hit the stop, I just let go, back the tool out slightly, and I just keep on taking a little off at a time. What size drill bit for 5/16 tap?
Here is information from Lincoln Machine, Inc.
You can't beat the internet, guys. I'm ready to set up and tap the hole. And this is actually a monumentous occasion. Not only do I get to use the tool post for the first time, I get to use the spring follower that I made a couple of videos back for the first time as well. So this is like the inaugural flight of a few different things on this old lathe here. I might actually be close to the bottom of the hole here. Yeah, I think I am. And remember, if you are going to do an operation like this in the lathe, it takes you 5 seconds to unplug it. I've got it locked in the back gears, so I don't have to worry about the chuck spinning on me. But yeah, never ever try to do this when the lathe is plugged in. You know, I know you wouldn't intentionally turn a switch on, but you know, if something fell against it and the machine came on, make your day kind of miserable. At the very least, you'd probably break your tap and maybe even a finger. Alright, there we go. Now I can make the tapers. Alright guys, this part of the project is done, and now we get to start working with the copper. But I went ahead and I did a quick engraving job on this. HF spot welder, that's Harbor Freight spot welder tips, with all of the grace and elegance of a 3-year-old writing in crayon, but that's why Dana is the engraver. So let's move on to the copper. This is a chunk of copper that somebody had just given me a bucket of random metal, because I'm a metal worker. Here, this has been in my garage for 40 years. Take this. And I found this at the bottom. This is a nice chunk of copper. Apparently, whoever was using this used it as a hammer, or as the receiving end of a hammer, like to drive something out. Both ends are really mushroomed. I'm going to take this over to the saw and cut it off so I have at least a flat face that'll fit in the chuck. I am also going to mention I'm cutting this on the bandsaw because I don't want to put a soft metal into my abrasive cutoff wheel. So I am going to do that off camera. I will be right back. So what I'm setting up to do now, YouTube, is trimming this down to the diameter that I need to thread it. Once I do that, it'll go inside the tool that we made, and I'll finish the production from there. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, guys, but I'm coming in here with a Sharpie, and I am tracing over a line that I made in pencil. And this line, once I reach it, it's going to let me know the depth, how far into the material that I'm going. So as soon as that black line meets the end of this, that's how far into the piece that I want to go, and the overall diameter I will check with these guys. I'm actually going to stop and move this further back into the chuck. Right now there is no reason to have it out that far, and the less run out you have, the more rigid it is, and your cut tends to be better with that. So let us continue. Okay, YouTube, let me tell you what I learned. Whatever alloy this copper was that I found in the bottom of the bucket is definitely not hard enough to machine the way I machined it. When I put the threads on first, because it was so narrow, it started to wobble just by the pressure of the tool. So, and there's no way that I can really put this between centers. So what I'm wondering is if I need to make something that has a taper that I can slip the nose of this tip into, maybe put a set screw to hold it in place, and then spin this and thread it. I don't know. I'm going to experiment with it, but that's really what this was an experiment. It wasn't a complete and total loss because I can't find these tips anywhere, and this turned out to be very handy for redressing the tips that I already have. So I did not waste the day. I am going to get what I need out of it. It's just I wish I could make them on my own rather than trying to hunt them down. But I'm going to do some research, see if I can find some harder copper alloys, talk to a couple of friends, and I'll go from there. But I don't know if you could tell the difference, but being able to just redress these tips is going to make one heck of a difference. So, didn't work out according to plan, but it still worked out in the end. Alright YouTube, today was not a resounding success, but it was not a complete failure either. Now that I have the tooling, I can definitely refurbish the tips that I have before. It's obvious I need to do some research and find out what alloys I'm working with. I'm not really sure what was in the bottom of that bucket, but it was definitely a learning experience, and I think that anything that you learn from and you can take that knowledge with you into the future is not a failure. There are times when you're working in the shop when you can have setback after setback and you just can't seem to get what you want done. And being discouraged is probably one of the I don't know how to describe it. It's like it's your kryptonite, you know? You just feel depressed and you feel like, oh my God, why can't I do this? And you start to question yourself after a while. Sometimes you need to walk away just so you can come back with a fresh pair of eyes. So if your projects don't come out the way that you expect, don't just walk away from them. Don't get discouraged. Put it aside, come back to it. Because if you walked away from every setback you have, that's kind of like you get a flat tire and you give up and slash the other 3 tires and walk away. Setbacks are a part of life. The learning curve is a part of life. And I think that if you really are truly inspired to go out and try to do something because you're interested in it, if you fail the first couple of times, don't worry about it. Hey, in today's day and age, it's a good thing just to wake up with a pulse. Anything after that is gravy. Well, anyway, that's my thought. I'm going to wrap up the video here. I want to thank you guys for spending the time and hanging out with me once again. I will definitely catch you on the next video. Hopefully I will drag Dana or maybe even Verid into the mix, and we will see what happens from there. But until then, this has been Jeff at Darkmoon Metals, and I will see you again soon.